What about my love? Wasn't it enough? Just let me know so I can.
Now, this is where we really put our money where our mouths are, bro. I talked about this enough. I talked about this last week and I broke it down with all the players that they got. Everybody knows Luther Burton. Everybody knows Cody Schrader. Everybody knows Brady Cook. We've been talking about these dudes for forever. And Georgia just came out and beat the brakes off of Florida. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens in this game. But who you got, Fishing?
Oh, big win that Georgia just had over Florida. Big win as in points wise. I mean, Florida's not a good team, but just dominated up front. That was my worry, is if they still had that after losing everything from last year. Carson Beck's looked way better than I thought he was going to look too, especially without Brock Bowers. They just seemed to scheme Ladd McConkey in certain ways, and that boy got some speed.
Dejon Edwards had a big week last week too.
He did. I mean, Florida's run defense is just really, really bad because Georgia's running backs are not traditionally this year as good as they usually are. Like I always say, man, and I've kind of been eating my words a little bit on this too. I always say you got to throw the ball to beat Georgia. You can't run it down their throat and just expect to win the game. We saw what happened with Kentucky. Ray Davis had like 40 yards. So you can't just line up and run it on them. And I think out of the teams that are left on Georgia's schedule, Mizzou is one of those teams that can do it. Theo Weiss and Luther Burden are a problem at wide receiver. Like you said, Schrader, which is quietly one of the best running backs that in the SEC right now. And Brady Cook is cooking. And this defense is good too, man. I mean, overall, it's got its weaknesses. The shootout with LSU kind of showed that, but
yeah,
we give a lot of credit to LSU because of that high-powered offense also. So I'm going to take Mizzou in this one. I was struggling to pick. It was going to be Ole Miss or Mizzou that would beat Georgia this year, or if any of them were at all. But I think this will be probably a shootout type of game. And like I said, man, Luther Burden is going to have him a game, Theo Weiss, but I think they could pull it off.
Oh, man. I've talked about this one ad nauseum. Go check out the video that everybody's throwing hate at me for thinking that SEC the Missouri is the best team in the SEC. And I said nothing but facts. They've got top 10 players all over the field in every single facet of the game. So why wouldn't I think that statistically that they do have, the best team in the SEC? I understand Georgia, and people are like, oh, their defense is good. Yes, they have a better defense and all that stuff. But outside of Luther Burton, man, I think, do you think South Carolina's defense is a pushover?
South Carolina's?
Yeah. You think they're a pushover?
Yeah.
What about Kentucky?
No.
What about LSU?
Secondary bad.
All right. Cody Schrader put up 114 yards and 3 touchdowns against LSU. And what I'm going to say is that Cody Schrader is the most important piece to this team's success this weekend. Take Brady Cook out of it, because statistically, you could say that he's doing better than Carson Beck at this point. Luther Burton, we don't even need to talk about him. He's an absolute menace. Probably the best wide receiver in the country next to Marvin Harrison Jr. in some aspects. I mean, y'all know how I feel about Gage Larvadain out of Miami of Ohio. That's my boy. But when we're really matching up power to power, man, Luther Burton's probably number 2 in the country. Defenses are about the same and what yards allowed, even though Georgia's better. They put up a better, as far as like total yards in offense, they put up more as well. Having Kendall Milton back doesn't play in their favor either. And Missouri I mean, they're already going to be at Sanford Stadium. The best thing I can say about this is that they're not playing a total night game in Sanford Stadium. Because if this is at night, I might feel a little bit different. Just night games are different. They are. If you've watched college football for the longest time, you think they're different. But I just think after what they did against Florida last week, they're gonna come in with the big heads. I really do think that. Now, if they would have came in and they would have kept it a close game with Florida, I think that honestly, it would have been a little closer to me saying that Georgia would have won this game, because they wouldn't have had that wide open net of thinking that they're the best team in the country. They would have took Missouri a little serious. I'm not saying that they won't take them serious, but it's a lot easier going into a game knowing that, oh man, I just came off a really close game. I probably can't take Missouri that lightly. We're going to have to play them tough. But I just think, man, the worst thing that could have happened to Georgia last week is them blowing out Florida. And Missouri taking a break and resting up. This is either way you look at it, this is kind of a recipe for disaster for Georgia to get upset. You don't think Missouri doesn't think they're the best team in the SEC after barely losing the way that they did earlier this year? Yeah. Missouri's coming to play. They beat Georgia in a close game. And I don't think this one goes to overtime, but I think it's going to be a fourth quarter affair by Cody Schrader after starting out kind of slow. And I think he's going to turn up the juice towards the end of the game. Brady Cook might get him a little rushing touchdown towards the end of the game as they drive down the field. I can already envision it. Last drive of the game, they're losing. Missouri drives down the field, and they don't make the mistake that they did last time when they lost. Brady Cook drives down the field, runs it in, ends the game. Everybody's crying in Sanford Stadium. Me and Fishing gonna light up a cigar and kick back and relax. I know he wants revenge for being a Florida fan, and I want revenge to come in the comments and start cooking everybody. I can't wait.
And the implications of this too, man,
is
Mizzou could win the East. I mean, do they win the East after this? I mean, I guess if they win out in the rest of the conference games, I didn't look at their schedule. They're going to go to the SEC championship. And then if Alabama loses to LSU, it opens the door for Ole Miss. And it's like, you could see Ole Miss and Mizzou in the SEC. So, this is where we get down to the gritty right here. So,
Yep.
This is where crazy things happen, but
crazier things have happened.
mm-hmm.
So that's our predictions for this game, man. I just see it happening. I see this being an upset.